Name?
Yo, what's up? My name's Jon Boogz. I've been dancing for 12 years now. I started when I was actually living in Baltimore at the time. I did my middle school years in Baltimore City, in Maryland, and everyone was doing it in the neighborhoods. It was a neighborhood thing. You go into the Boys and Girls Club, everybody was dancing, particularly popping, which is the style I do. And one of my friends, Corey, and a dude named Bobby, we used to call him Bobby Digital, they were the first ones who introduced me to it in 2000, and I've been doing it ever since then. Michael Jackson, I mean, was probably tons of people's inspirations and influences, but ever since I was a kid, my mom had the making of Thriller, the Moonwalker movie, and I just studied those tapes over and over and over and over and over. And then my uncle, he had a stack of Soul Train tapes, man, like stack. And he had footage of the original lockers, so them dudes were on there locking, and doing all the 70s dances. So it's always been around me, you know. But when I really would pick it up is when I say in middle school, when Corey and these guys were showing me some stuff, and then they brought home a Mr. Wiggles DVD for the first time, and or it was a tape actually. It wasn't even a DVD then. It was a tape, and when I saw that guy, I was like, oh man, like that's crazy, you know. And it made me want to dive into it more, and I became obsessed with it, you know. I would say my styles changed from earlier to now. I would say like in the early 2000s, I was doing a lot of leg work and groundwork. I was heavily influenced by, I was doing a lot of boogaloo at that time. So I was really inspired by the shoot downs and a lot of the low level stuff. So that's what I was really into then. Was groundwork and rolls and the shoulders and the funk and that whole vibe and feel. I would say nowadays I've tried to become a more complete popper, and I would even say dancer, but just a more complete popper. If we're talking about popping, I started getting into waving, started getting into animation, I started getting into the more deeper isolations and body control and things of that nature, when back in the day I was just all about the funk and being rhythmic and free and loose and sporadic. I would say what made my style evolve would be moving from Baltimore to Miami. I'm born and raised Philadelphia, but I wasn't popping until I moved to Baltimore. And then once I moved to Baltimore, I learned that, and we were coming up on club music and that go-go DC kind of sound. And then moving to Miami was such a difference, because at that time the only influence I had was Wiggles, Electric Boogaloo. I seen some of the videos and stuff, and Soul Train, and so I was into like the funkiness, all the loose stuff. And then when I got to Miami, everyone was animating, everyone was roboting, isolating, waving, tutting. Those were the three main styles: waving, tutting, animation, and gliding. Everyone has tons of good footwork. So when I would go there, man, I was going to the skating rings and I was going to the parties, man. Like, I would do stuff and cats would be like, man, you kind of got that old school style, you know? And I was kind of like, what? You know, because to me that was my truth, you know. I loved the funkiness, and I always kept it. I never changed it. But Miami, I would have to say Miami was the place that made me realize that I have to learn every style, you know, of popping. If you're gonna call yourself a popper and you love it, dive and dip and dive in all the styles, you know, tutting, waving, animating, boog, gliding, groundwork, everything. Cool. Some advice I would give to upcoming heads coming up in popping world or dance world, I would say always be a student, you know. You can always expand your horizons, learn everything. If you're gonna pop, learn every style: waving, tutting, robot, animation. Learn everything and be original. Originality is the key. Originality makes history. How you gonna be a legend if you look like the next guy? You know what I mean? Like how are you gonna be remembered if you don't try to create your own feel? You know? And I would also say, listen to different kinds of music. That's another advice I'll give. Listen to different kinds of music. A lot of people pop to poppin' music, so it tends to have that same feel because certain music gives you a certain feel, you know. But if I turn on Lil Wayne and I pop to Lil Wayne, I can no longer have that. I can't have that feel because his music might be like it'll have a different bounce to it. So I feel like if you know how to apply the technique over a lot of different rhythm patterns and not just your traditional 1 2 1 2, like the timing of traditional popping, it'll really help you open up and expand your rhythmatic patterns. So I would say listen to every kind of music, man. House music, hip hop, whatever, rock, dubstep, everything. Listen to all music and don't just practice the popping music because it'll show. I've seen people try to pop to regular music and they're on beat, but they look like a popper in a sense of like they don't know how to adapt not just the beat of the song, but like the feel of the song. Does the song have a gangster vibe? Are you gonna have that like gangster bounce with it, or does the song give you a more mystical vibe and you get more abstract? And so it's just really adapting your feel to the music, and I think the only way you can perfect that is you have to dance to other kinds of music. So I would say that be original and dance to multiple kinds of music, man. Don't let people trying to categorize things too much, like, oh man, poppin' music, like anything is poppin' music. Like what makes my style different? I think what makes my style different is I get inspiration from everything, from nature to juking, to all different types of southern influences growing up in the South, and just having an open mind and being artistic, looking at it as an art rather than just a dance. Yo, first and foremost, I'd like to shout out my crew, Control Freaks, what's up? Miami, Florida, stand up. Shout out my mom, who's also a big inspiration of mine. Shout out all the dancers out there doing their thing. And that's all, pretty much.